Hi, sweetie. I have another book. This is called When Green Becomes Tomatoes Poems for All Seasons by Julie Fogliano. Pictures by Julie Morstad. That's interesting that the author and the illustrator have the same first name, Julie. Yesterday, when I was at the Gaithersburg Library, they had such a big selection of gardening books and spring, and they do such a good job of picking books that are for the season that we're in the midst of. And then another section, they have all sorts of interesting books um, on famous people and on just interesting things. They had a big, nice book on swimming. It was with all kinds of pictures and, for kids, but really good, solid stuff. I love libraries, as you know. Here we go. When green becomes tomatoes. So I'm going to read a few um, books. Oh, there's actually a quote um, from Natalie Merchant, the singer, on the back. Fogliano's book is a treasure. She has captured it, that elusive stage of life and self-expression that is childhood. The syntax, the imagery, the intimacy with nature, and most importantly, the wonder that we all had the privilege to possess as children and again through our kids. It capitalizes wonder, which is interesting because that's one of her hit songs. It's called Wonder. The opening cover page is kind of an orangish red. And then When Green Becomes Tomatoes. And they have all kinds of tomatoes of different colors. Because tomatoes start green, and then when they ripen, they become all these different colors, depending on the kind of tomato. But a green tomato is an unripe tomato. Almost always, except there is one that I know of, what's called an heirloom tomato. It's been around a while. That is green when it's ripe, but usually green is unripe. And there, on the copyright page, is a little squirrel with looks like a little, of course, well, I can't tell if that's a tomato or a radish. For my parents with all my heart. A little kid eating a watermelon. Spring. That looks like an indigo bunting. Bluebirds, it's blue, but the reason I don't think it's a bluebird is that bluebirds have a bit of rust-colored red on their chest and a bit of white. But this is all blue. So that's probably an indigo bunting. Spring, March 20th. Look at this before I read it. Beautiful bird and these blossoms just beginning to open. From a snow-covered tree, one bird singing, each tweet poking a tiny hole through the edge of winter and landing carefully, balancing gently on the tip of spring. That's a good poem. Want me to read it again? Okay. Spring, March 20th. From a snow-covered tree, one bird singing, each tweet poking a tiny hole through the edge of winter and landing carefully, balancing gently on the tip of spring. I really like that poem. That's cool, that balancing, that's cool. Now this is another picture. It goes from here with footprints, like footprints in snow or mud, although it's all white, so probably snow, to a little plant coming up out of the ground called a crocus. And it's still kind of wintry because you see she has a hat, sweater, and boots. And there's a crocus. I have crocus in my yard. My crocus are purple. March 22nd. Just like a tiny blue hello, a crocus blooming in the snow. Short poem, but a good poem. I'm going to read it again. Just like a tiny blue hello, a crocus blooming in the snow. And that is exactly what it's like. You're walking along, it's been winter for many months, and it's still cold, and then all of a sudden you see green coming up, and in the middle of it, these bright, sort of deep purple flowers in the middle of no color at all except for winter colors, which is grays and browns and brown and gray and brown and gray and brown. And then there's green and purple. See? And just a little bit of it. Just like a tiny blue hello, a crocus blooming in the snow. March 24th. What the snow left behind was a red scarf next to a wooden carrot, one blue mitten, a big snow shovel, a little snow shovel, and mud, and mud, and mud, and more mud, and muddy mud, and mud. That is a good poem because that is exactly what late March is like. Mud. I call it worm weather because the worms come out of the mud, walk across the sidewalk, and let Isaac find them. I'm going to read that one again. What the snow left behind was a red scarf next to a wooden carrot, one blue mitten, a big snow shovel, a little snow shovel, and mud, and mud, and mud, and more mud, and muddy mud, and mud. There's another poem right under it. No new pictures other than the ones at the bottom of the page. But like when the snow melted, they're finding things that are in and around the yard that got lost, the mitten and the shovel and the bigger shovel and the scarf and the carrot. The wooden carrot probably because they used it to make a snowman. I was going to say one thing. Oops. I have to keep this active or, oops. Okay. Shivering and huddled close, the forever rushing daffodils, wishing they had waited. I wonder, do they wish they'd waited? Or are they glad they came? Among all the flowers, very few of them can come as big and bold and beautiful and triumphant, insistent yellow. I mean, insistent. They don't play around. They're not small like most spring time, early flowers. They don't look at all sturdy, like a big thick zinnia stalk with a big blossom. They're kind of thin, hollow, light in weight, green stalks with a rather delicate flower on top that's big, and the yellow is unmistakable, and it's sort of saying, here I am. Winter's over. Here I am. Don't forget. And you do forget. You look at a winter landscape, you don't think daffodils, but they're under the ground. waiting to go in those little buds. Bulbs, in the bulbs underground, waiting to go. And then there's a whole hill of it, like in my front yard, a hill of daffodils. This is the daffodil. And then a snow will come, or ice, and they survive. But this poem, March 26th, shivering and huddled close, the forever rushing daffodils wished they had waited. April 3rd. Oh, I guess I should keep reading. April 3rd. Today, the sky was too busy sulking to rain, and the sun was exhausted from trying, and everyone, it seemed, had decided to wear their sadness on the outside, and even the birds and all their singing sounded broken-hearted inside of all that gray. Boy, is that true. They have captured it. You get the daffodils, you get the warm day or two, you get the streak of nice weather, you get the breezes, you get a feeling that winter's over. And then you get a long, cold spell. It's gray, the grass is gray and brown, the sky is gray, the sun tries but it can't, the clouds, it's just too solid a cloud cover of gray, and it doesn't feel like winter's ever going to end. This poem said that really well. Today the sky was too busy sulking to rain. Great line. What a great line. The sky was too busy sulking to rain, and the sun was exhausted from trying. It's such a good way of saying it, and it's sort of the way it feels. But the sentence, or the phrase, and the sun was exhausted from trying, the tempo of it, the spacing of it. The sky was too busy sulking to rain, and the sun was exhausted from trying. The fact that they're longer words, and it's very good. Poets are amazing. They are just sculpting something out of nothing. And what they sculpt, when you're left with it, is a moment of honest life experience that just is. It is that way. And when they started, there was nothing there but their life and their floating experiences. And they work at it, and they work, and they find the right word and the way to say it, and the spacing and the pacing and the tone. Then you've got something out of nothing. And this nothing, this something is just from here to here. But I'll read it, and you'll see how you get it. It captures exactly the feeling that we have on days like that. Yesterday was a day like that. I'll read it again. April 3rd. Today, the sky was too busy sulking to rain, and the sun was exhausted from trying, and everyone, it seemed, had decided to wear their sadness on the outside, and even the birds and all their singing sounded broken-hearted inside of all that gray. Great poem. And here's some kids sitting on a log under an umbrella with a frog and these look like pussy willows, I'm not sure, and boots and a stream and a little bird called a robin. And you could see the rain coming down in the picture. I'll hold it here a minute so you can see it. And there's two poems on this page. I'll read both of them and then we'll stop for now. The first one has 2 lines. Rain makes frogs hop in a hurry. Rain makes frogs hop in a hurry. It makes humans run in a hurry, unless they're little kids who like the rain, And then they run around outside while big humans, adults, run around trying to get inside dry spaces. Okay, last poem for right now is April 23rd, which, if I'm not mistaken, is Shakespeare's birthday. There are things that are yellow and new and popping up everywhere. Daffodils. And there are red rubber boots with the mud on the inside and maybe a frog on the inside of the boot. And everything is squishing and everyone is soggy, but the sometimes sun is just enough for a robin. You know what? That is so true. Robins fly, but they also walk and bounce across the lawn. Most birds fly to the feed that they're getting, but robins get it from the ground, the worms and bugs and things, and they hop a lot. And it's true, you get the sense when you're watching a robin, it doesn't take much to make it feel good. One more time with that one. April 23rd. There are things that are yellow and new and popping up everywhere. And there are red rubber boots with the mud on the inside and maybe a frog. And everything is squishing and everyone is soggy, but the sometimes sun is just enough for a robin. And that is a very nice book, and we have a bunch of other poems to read. We've only read a few pages, but they were good. I like this book a lot. I really like the paintings too. And I like the poems. Yesterday we read a book with poems in it, and they were fun or funny, but some of the humor was more for adults. And, that would you had to be an adult to get it. And I kind of like this book because it's really poetic. It really captures it well. Really says it well. Really uses words well. It's like a skilled poem, not just a playful, fun poem. They're all good, but I love this book. So we read this one so far today, and we read this one, Titch. Okay, sweetie, I love you so much. See you soon. Bye-bye.